You are now listening to About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills. Rom Wills is an entrepreneur and personal coach who has helped people reach their fullest potential personally and professionally. Take it away, Rom.
Welcome to the Sunday morning podcast for RomWills.com, and I'm your host, Rom Wills. Once again, this is a broadcast that will be simulcast on all of my platforms today. Today, I'll be talking about the knowledge game. And even though my podcasts are for all people, this one is specifically for men because it deals with the very nature of a man, right? Now, I've been fond of saying that a man makes love to a woman's body, but a woman makes love to a man's mind. Now, understand the deeper meaning behind that. See, when a man makes love to a woman, he deposits his seed into the woman. She becomes pregnant. 9 months later, she has a beautiful baby. She creates within her womb. That's the creative part of a woman. That's the center of her creativity. In fact, if a woman has any problems with creating anything, she probably needs to check the status of her womb and deal with any sexual issues that she might have. But her creation is in the world of matter, is in the physical world. When I say a woman makes love to a man's mind, that means he has a womb as well, but his womb is mental. Men create with their minds. We cannot create. We can initiate the creation of physical life, but ultimately it's the woman that nurtures it and brings it forth. But with the man, he creates as well, but the seed that comes from a woman, maybe the idea, the inspiration, manifests itself in the ideas that men will create and the things that they will build. If you look at political philosophies, spiritual philosophies, economic philosophies, if you look at what we have in the physical world, most of it comes from a man. In fact, there's a strong argument that all of it comes from the mind of a biological male. I mean, it is what it is, right? Now, when we talk about knowledge, what happens is when a man creates, he does so from the ideas and information that he has. So in order to do that, in order for a man to create a political system, in order for a man to create a spiritual system, in order for a man to have an idea to build something, in order for a man he could be an architect, he has to have ideas. In order to have those ideas, he has to have information. He has to have knowledge. The most important thing for a man to do is to gain knowledge. That's the basis of a man's power. That's the basis of a man's world. In esoteric traditions, the woman represents matter, but the man represents the mind. You know, heaven and earth together. Woman is earth, man is heaven. And there's a more esoteric meaning behind that. But I don't want to get too deep into it. Some esoteric students or metaphysical students will understand what I'm talking about. But the key to a man is to always get that knowledge, to always find it. If you find a man who is not doing well in life, if you find a man that lacks direction, if you talk with him, you find he has very little knowledge, maybe just enough knowledge just to get along every day. But you'll find if you were to say, well, what do you have expertise in? What do you know about better than anything else? And they will probably tell you nothing. They're just following along. See, for a man to do what he has to do in this planet, for a man to do what he has to do in the world to make his mark, he has to have knowledge of some type of subject. Now, you know what? It doesn't even have to be about making money. Because you have plenty of men who can make money doing something that they only have superficial interest in, but their knowledge is in another area. You know, an example could be the man who might work, he might work in a factory somewhere doing repetitive work. But then he also has a knowledge on how to grow a garden and how to grow food. That's specialized knowledge. And every man needs to do that. Every man needs to study. Every man needs to read, And in fact, many do. Many do. I'm not telling men anything new. Because when I had a bookstore, it was actually a book stand one time, right? I could divide my books up. I would divide my books on the stand. Half the books, on one side of the stand, it would be like the fiction books, the stories, bubblegum fiction, a couple romance things for women or drama or something like that. And the women would gravitate over there. But then on the fiction side, it was the more knowledge stuff, the deeper stuff, maybe the how-to, the self-help books. It was mostly men that drifted over there. So many men realize this. A man has to have knowledge to do anything. And it's not necessarily intellectual knowledge. For a man to be a plumber, he has to have knowledge of it. He has to know everything about it. For a man to be a carpenter, he has to know everything about that. For a man to be a mechanic, he has to have that knowledge. So it's whatever, for a man to truly be a man in this world, he has to master a form of knowledge. And, like I said, it's not always intellectual. It could be more hands-on, but that is knowledge. That man who digs a ditch for a living, he could be a literal grave digger. There's a knowledge on how to do that. So, but it's that man's knowledge. And see, the thing is, in mastering a craft, in mastering some type of knowledge, that's actually a spiritual thing for a man. See, the nature of a man is to go out and conquer. The nature of a man is to grow. The nature of a man is to have something to do. In order for a man to develop himself by mastering a craft, he is actually developing his spirit. There's many men out here who are just drifting along. They're not sure what they want to do, or they're just there. I really believe, in fact, I know, I'm not going to use the word believe, I know, if every single man was evaluated and were to find out or get an idea of what he was supposed to do, that would change his life. You take a homeless man and say, well, okay, sir, what are you good at? What do you like? That would change the nature of it. Men have to have something to do. And then when they say, the old term is knowledge is power. Once a man has knowledge of something, once he has developed that craft, or in the process of developing the craft, because really that's more what it is. It's even just in a process, it gives him something to do. It gives him purpose. It gives him self-worth. It gives him confidence to do something because he knows he's good at that one thing. And like I said, it's not always about making money. Hey, if you can make money with it, that's great. Trust me, that is great. But sometimes it's not always about that. Sometimes it's just about knowing within yourself that you are at least good at one thing, that you're even great at one thing. Because then you can walk with pride. Then you can speak with authority on what you know. And it's spiritual because not only can you do that, but then you can teach someone else. You can reach back and you can take someone under your wing and teach them. I'll give you an example. I'm a person who works out a lot. I'm in the gym, and my oldest son just all of a sudden thought it was cool it would be cool to have muscles. And honestly, I'm not sure about his motivation, because before he just wanted to sit around and play video games. But I was thinking about it as I was showing him to do the proper form on doing some curls. And I was thinking, wow, this just feels so good. Because I've had I developed a knowledge of that, especially doing proper forms during workouts. In fact, I've even been complimented by random people in the gym they'll say, you know what, you have a great form. And that's a compliment, for especially for people who really like lift weights and stuff. And it just felt good to share that knowledge with my son. You know, it feels purposeful. It makes you walk different. And that's with anything. That's with anything. That's anything with men. I think that's one of the problems with many men now. That's why you get some men out here go crazy. They don't feel like they have purpose. You know, or they might not have specialized knowledge of anything. You know, they just drifting along. A man always has to have a direction to go. You know, and that direction starts with getting knowledge. For the men who hear this, you know, figure out what you want. And you know what, take the money and go out, because that's what messes people up. You can do anything really for a job, but figure out that thing you like. It can be obscure. You know, it could be the patterns of ants, right? It could be, seriously, it could be the patterns of ants and how they do things. And some people will think, well, yeah, that's some weird stuff. It's like, no. You never know when that knowledge might come in handy. You know, you never know. You never know what you could do with that. And it, like I said, it don't have to be about it. It could be something you just do for a hobby. You just know it. You know, and I've heard of people just doing that. They'll just do something because they like to do it. You know, I spoke of my oldest son. My youngest son, you know what? That dude will probably be a very good researcher. He'll find stuff. He'll just like surf the net just looking for random stuff. I'm looking at him like, how you find that? You know? But he'll be that type. He'll tell you everything about like crystals or something like that or whatever. But that's everyone. Every man. You know, it's kind of like having, I'll use the analogy of a superhero. Every man should have that special skill that just makes him the man. That superhero. That's his special power. You know, that's his special gift. But the key is getting that knowledge. So, that's my message for today. Keep rising and transforming. Peace.